All right, it's interesting. I just saw this myself. I know that version 4 is out now. Notice, V4. They've changed the look and feel on it. And Ethan had asked the other day, are we going to use Visual Studio 2017? The idea was no, but I'm wondering if Visual Studio 2017 has native built-in Bootstrap 4 support. And I don't know if it does or not. Does it? Okay, I don't know if you've looked. But I know that the one that we're using now, 2015, has got support for 3.3.4. All right? But hopefully you remember this from taking a quick look at it, that if you go through, for example, they've changed the documentation. This is all different from the way that it used to be. But what I did, what I sent you, and I'm going to, again, you've got, like I said, 5 emails, and I've got this broken down into 13 parts. In the first part, literally what I did was I grabbed everything from here, which is their starter file, and I threw it in there. So what I'm going to do is just kind of walk you through what I did. And if it doesn't make sense, all right, you're going to have to let me know. Unfortunately, I just moved a bunch of stuff around here, and I shouldn't have done that. So there it is. So when you look here for part 1, the only thing that's in here, literally, if you look at the file, is this. This is all the stuff. This is all the stuff that came with the starter file. Now, I tried to put comments in here. You should be able to look at that stuff now and figure out what it is and what it does. All right? Like I said, anything I thought you'd have a problem with, I tried to add some comments in here. These comments didn't come with their file. All right? This is all stuff that I put in there. But if you look at it, there's really, when you run this, that's all that's there. That's the starter file that's got Hello World and nothing else in it. All right? Then we come into the next iteration, which is part 2. So what's different in part 2? Well, what's different is we come in there and we add this. Okay? Let me just bring it up and show it to you. Okay, it doesn't look like much, but that's adding their navigation bar. All right? Some of this stuff, like I said, has changed in Bootstrap 4. This thing right here, if you don't remember, if you've never heard the term before, that's called the brand, whatever goes over to the left. All right, sometimes people will put a picture of a product in there. Sometimes it'll be text. Sometimes they choose to put nothing in there. You don't have to. So this right here is the navigation bar. All right. Now remember, when we set that up and we put in that navigation bar, that's all right here. So what are we saying? Well, you have to use the Navbar class. We want the default navigation bar. We want it fixed, and we want it on top. So no matter how far down you scroll, it's going to stay there. If we had done this instead, just to show you, I'll put that bottom, and I'll change this from Navbar default to Navbar inverse. All right, so you can see the changes that I've made. Well, notice it going down to the bottom, and the inverse says instead of having dark text on a light background, have light text on a dark background. Okay, so that's really the only change. So you can change this virtually any way you want to. Now, the stuff that's in here, this is stuff that we went over. All right, you may or may not remember it, but we did go over it. And the other news is, just so you know, all 13 of these lessons, I did do videos on. All right, they're out there. I actually did them for the summer class that I taught in St. Louis. We never got to these. All right, those kids, they were so sugared up and stuff that afternoon they wouldn't do anything after we ate lunch. So, but this thing right here, this, all right, it says button, navbar toggle, etc., etc. That is responsible. Let me go back and reset the navbars, make it a default. Let me just put it back on the top. What's that? Oh, thank you. All right. But the stuff that's here is set up so when we get down to a certain point, see that thing right there? That right there, when you click it, you get your menu, okay? Sometimes they actually call it, I don't know why, but it's called a hamburger. Goes by different names. I guess it's supposed to look like a hamburger. I don't know. It doesn't to me. But it says that we're going to have a button. It's going to be able to toggle. And the big thing here is that collapse and that Navbar collapse. That's what's allowing us to do that. Anybody remember what this stands for? SR only? SR is basically, it's for people who are sight impaired. It's screen reader. So you typically put that in there. Excuse me. You typically put that in there so that if somebody is blind and they've got a screen reader, they're not going to be able to iterate around with a mouse and do that stuff. So their thing will just say toggle navigation. It'll read that out to them. All right. These things right here, these icon bars, again, you may have already figured that out. That's these things right here. So you can have as many or as few of them as you want. Most of the time, people put 3 in there. It's not like I put 3 in there because we've got 3 submenus. That has nothing to do with it. All right. Any questions on any of that stuff? All right. And I realize we're going through this kind of quickly. You're going to get a whole chapter, probably about a chapter and a half in the ASP.NET book, but at least you've been kind of re-exposed to it, so to speak. All right. And remember that when you're doing this, first of all, Bootstrap depends on jQuery. It's got some stuff that natively calls a bunch of jQuery things. And the jQuery.js file has to come before the Bootstrap min.js file. Has to. Because it's going to call some stuff that's in jQuery. Also, the recommendation is your JavaScript files, put them down at the very bottom, right before your ending body tag. The reason for that is when you have a web page, the head loads before the body does. So if the body depends on anything that was up in the head, you're sure the head will have loaded by then. Does that make sense? All right. So some of the stuff I'm telling you are kind of generalities, but that's just the way that it is. All right. So that's the first 2. Let's bring up the next one. Let me run it first so we can see what's different in here. Oh, I just did put it on the... that's a footer on the bottom. Okay? So this is all new, so all the same, let's just talk about what's new in here. All right? And it's a nav bar that we put in as a footer. Okay? You've got so much latitude when you use Bootstrap that basically you can do almost anything you want. I don't consider myself an expert in this. On a 1 to 10, I think I'm about a 3. And every time I go through anything, I learn more every time I go through it. All right, and I'm sure that there are going to be things that we're going to do this semester where I'm going to learn more. Or you're going to ask a question, and I won't know the answer. I'll try to find it, but I probably won't know it. All right. Now, notice on this, it says navbar, text, pull left. Everybody see that in yellow up there? So that pull left justifies it. You notice that if I come back here and I change it from pull left to pull right and run it again, didn't change anything. All right, I thought that it would have. Yeah, there might be more that I have to do. But there are pull methods. There's different things that you're able to do. I didn't show it very well, but there are different things that you're able to do. Well, it's bigger now, and we've added these icons. See that down here? And I've actually got them linked up to Rankin's Facebook page, to Rankin's Twitter page, and to Rankin's Google Plus page. Now, do you have to do that? Well, this is the way I'm looking at this stuff. What you may want to do, this is your call, but if I were you, and it's the end of this semester, and I know I'm going to start sending out resumes, maybe at the end of the semester or whatever, I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at everything that I've got in my portfolio. I'm going to make sure all the links work. And I want it to look as professional as possible. So if I used a goofy font Or if somehow the fonts are, where it's supposed to be a bigger font, I've got it smaller or whatever, I'm going to go back and change that stuff. And you might say, well, I don't have the time to, well, do you want a job or not? Some of these jobs, you might be the best person applying for. Some of these jobs, though, when somebody looks at it, all right, when somebody looks at your portfolio, if they see something like that, a weird color or a weird font, that's how they're going to remember you. And I'm not saying that's fair, but that's just the way that it is. All right. So if we look at this one, that was in here. All right. This was pulled to the right, so that did work. I don't know why the other one didn't, but it did. This one did. So look, notice what we have here. One thing that's done in, just so you know, this is still done using Facebook. This is still done using Bootstrap with a version 3. They have built-in icons. They're called glyphicons. All right. In Bootstrap 4, they got rid of all of them. There are no icons built into Bootstrap 4. Instead, they suggest you go out and you use Font Awesome. Font Awesome is free, and they've got about double the number of icons. And it's also very, very well set up as far as how things are. What I'm hoping is we're going to build some kind of a project. I'm not sure if it's going to be for these people coming or not, but we're going to build some kind of a project as a class. But I'm going to get you to a certain point, and I'm going to say, now, for the rest of this, you're doing it. All right? The first-year students were surprised today. Yesterday was kind of a blow-off day. Today we went through Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 of the HTML book. And I got them to a certain point, and there were 10 pages left in the chapter. And I said, okay, everybody get this? And I said, any questions? No. You sure? No. Good. Then you do the rest. And they looked at me like, what? Well, I said, I've gotten you to this point. I said, it walks you through in the book what you're supposed to do. And there were 2 or 3 people who had questions, but they were actually very valid, very good questions. You're to that point right now where when you get introduced new concepts, we should have to go over them as a class. But once they've been introduced to you and there's something similar to that in the book, you should be able to pull that out and work on it yourselves. All right. Also notice here, it's not that it's a big thing, it's square. As you see, there's round, and there might be other shapes too that you can use if you want to. Not that that's a big thing. The FA that's in here, that's the Font Awesome. All right, Facebook, there's the Font Awesome Twitter. There's the Font Awesome Google+. And I believe that in order to use this, someplace up here, we had to add, what is that?
It's that second one right there. The
second one? Right here? Yep, there you go. We had to add that. Now, one thing, the other nice thing about this is when you go out to Font Awesome and you do that, it's going to give you the latest version. All right, the glyphicons, it's not like they could have sat there and added more glyphicons to version 3.3.4. All right, they would have had to wait until the next version. Now with going out to Font Awesome, if they add a bunch of new icons or something, it's real easy for you to bring them in. So as soon as you use that, anything that's in here now, all right, notice it's MaxCDN, bootstrapcdn.com. CDN Content Delivery Network. It's going out to the internet and finding that stuff. You don't have to bring that in yourself, but you can if you want to. All right? So again, just so you see this, not that it's a big thing, but if I go out here and I type in Font Awesome, there it is, fontawesome.io. There's the download. All right, and what they have in here, getting started, you look in the icons, and they literally do. They have them set. These aren't all the icons. These are just the different classifications of icons. I mean, they've got one called bath. All right, kind of a dumb example, but you see it. There's a thing in here. They have social icons, and that's where I got these from. All right. So let's see. That's part 4. Here's the next iteration. Okay. What is this thing called? Anybody remember? That's a Jumbotron. Now, many Bootstrap sites use the coloring, etc. like that. You don't have to do that. That Jumbotron can be an image if you use it. It can be just an image. You can put anything on there that you want. My suggestion is if you're working, let's say you decide you're going to bootstrap your portfolio and it's not in a Bootstrap format right now. If you do that and you're going to put in buttons like this, they should go somewhere. All right? You'd be amazed at how many sites there are out there that it doesn't go anywhere. To me, what's the sense of putting a button in there if it doesn't go anywhere? It's not serving any purpose. But if you look, now, I mean, it was going to Bootstrap 3 and Bootstrap 4, but now since there's only one, these are both going to go to the same place. All right? But if we take a look at that and we look at the Jumbotron for this, it's right here. All right? It's kind of funny that before HTML5, everybody used divs for everything. By now you should remember what the heck a div is. Everybody used a div. Div, and at the beginning you always had in there ID equal container. Everybody did it. All right? So look what they decided to do here. Class equal container. Basically just about everything you'll do will be in that container class. All right? All right. So here, everything between this div right here and right here, all right, that's the Jumbotron. There's an H1 in there, all right. There's a paragraph in there, and there's the two buttons that are in there. There's also, I'm maybe putting this in wrong, but we'll see. I'm going to try it anyway. Class equal, it was lead or led, I don't remember, but I think that's what it is. We're going to see if it changes. No. But there's a way that you can designate, like I said, I'm probably screwing it up, but it's called a lead or a led class, and you put that in and it'll make that text bigger. So if you've got multiple paragraphs, typically you'll set the first one to that lead or led class, so the first paragraph is a little bit bigger. All right. Right. Should be able to get 6 or 7 of these in and before they come. So this is part 6. Okay, so what's new? This is what's new, right? This button right here, everybody see this? Because this is actually a new feature. This is now called a ghost button, because the idea is you can't see it until you mouse over it. And it doesn't have to be gray. It is by default, but you can make it be a different color if you want it to be that. Okay? So again, what's new on here is we've gone and we put this in. Okay? So if we take a look at what that is, it's under the Jumbotron. So div class equal row. Do you remember this? What that line in gray means. This is really important stuff. This works on a grid system. There are 12 columns in each row. We've set up 3 different ones. Class column MD4, col MD4, col MD4. That says break it up into thirds. It also says, just so you know this, that when you put that in, this says on a medium-sized device or above, make it 3 columns, 4, 4, 4, okay? But if it's less than that, it's going to break down so it's 1 column. And what do I mean? Again, I'm going to run this one more time. You just saw what it looked like, but now we're going to take the size of it and cut it down. Do you see how it's gone down to 1 column? All right. And once we reach a certain threshold in here, it'll go back again. All right. That's responsiveness. So if that's the kind of thing you want to include. Just take my word for it. You want to include stuff like that in your portfolio, because you're showing that mobile first. All right. I can design for any size screen. That's the kind of thing that you want to be able to show. All right, so let's see. That was number 6. We'll do number 7, and we'll take a break. Don't remember what changed in this one. Nope, not that. Take a quick look in here and see if I can see anything. There's nothing that stands out. Okay. All right. Let's take a break, and like I said, when we come back, I'm going to walk downstairs right now and see if those ladies are here. All right? And once they come in, please give them your attention. That means no phones. Don't even be looking at your screens. All right? Even if you think, there's no way in hell I want to do this, listen anyway. All right? My guess is they'll be here somewhere around an hour. I don't know. They haven't let me know. So, all right, so let's take a break. They're supposed to be here at 2, and it's 12 minutes to 2.
white things?
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems pretty freaking crazy. So I looked at that, thing you was talking about, the lead deal. It just straight up didn't work on it, because he protected it, right?
This is crazy.
Yeah. Mine's like,
Mine isn't even half of this.
mine's about that big. Mine has a, I don't think it's a, it has like a case in the front, or like a door on the front. Usually, I don't know if it's that much, but this one wasn't bad.
Mine comes like here.
Nice.
Hey,
Hey,
it
it
is
works.
what it is.
It works.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're freaking heavy too.
Going from my desktop keyboard, like mechanical keyboard, to this laptop
Yeah.
keyboard is just like it's
slow
awful.
transition.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Like I turned my computer on like around I think it was like Sunday at like probably 10 o'clock a.m. and I started to run updates because I had turned it on since like
Yeah.
last thing I was using my desktop, and I think I had like 50 updates and I didn't finish it until Monday morning.
Wow.
Yeah. So this thing is pretty much. Let's just hope it lasts all year.
Yeah.
So I don't have to buy another laptop. This thing is pretty slow though. That is for sure.